Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Dipen Gala, the co-founder of Lynx Automation, an enterprise home automation software. Dipen is a graduate of University of Chicago Booth School of Business and has worked for Citadel Investment Group before starting his own venture in 2016. Hi Dipen, welcome to ELI.
Hi, Priya. Thank you for having me.
I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Sure. My name is Dipen Gala, co-founder of Lynx Automation. Originally from India, moved to US for higher studies. Spent a lot of time in Wall Street hedge fund industry before I started my company called Lynx. Uh, Lynx is an IoT platform for hospitality. We predominantly provide contactless check-in and check-out for hotels, vacation rentals, and the entire hospitality sector.
Okay. Uh, Tell us little more about Lynx. How does it work from a technology and operation standpoint? What is the scale of operation, and what kind of clients or end users are getting to use your product or services?
Yeah. Lynx is again a software company, but we work with more than 300 plus different devices. Uh, any smart device, IoT, which is Internet of Things, is going to radically change how we operate, we do things. So we took that idea and brought it to a certain application of hospitality where we use smart locks for digital check-in or contactless check-in. And we were doing this before even COVID made it a necessity. So we use smart locks for automating check-ins and checkouts. For example, when you book a stay on Airbnb, you go to a home, you don't have to worry about a key or something. You get a digital key or a 4-digit access code for your stay. You put that into the door or use your phone to open the door during your stay. And when you're done, it automatically, the key expires. So no more handoffs of physical key and so on. That's how we started, and then we had many more products. We now do temperature management to nice 18 degrees Celsius, or in US it is 72 degree Fahrenheit. You can control leak sensors, noise sensors, and the entire devices, smart devices that are available. We can bring all of that to an enterprise dashboard. A typical customer is a property manager or a hotel or a big resort. They're managing somewhere between 50 to 1,000 rooms. Our biggest customer is the biggest vacation rental manager in US, having 20,000 rooms all across the nation. And they use our solution as an enterprise, one single dashboard to manage all these devices that are distributed across their network or their properties.
Okay, fair enough. Uh, would be very interested to know how it all started. To start with, how did you come up with the idea in the first place?
So I was in Chicago. I was having a full-time job, and we had our own real estate portfolio. And while I had that, I was renting it out to long-term tenants for a whole year. And then Airbnb became really big in 2005
Mm,
6 timeframe. So
right.
we started renting it out on Airbnb just as a new platform, new thing, which was short-term rental. And we saw the magic of Airbnb and how it changed things. It was a great experience. So we had more properties of our own, and then we rented it out on Airbnb. And as we added more properties to our portfolio, we realized it was getting really hard. Chicago is a place where winters are really brutal. It's really
Mm,
cold. And my properties were all around the town. And I faced the problem firsthand where I had to go to each unit to meet the guests, to give them the keys to access the unit. And many times there are flight delays and other problems, snowstorms. And I'm like, why can't I not automate it? And why can't I just have one place where I can control my 5 to 10 properties? So that's how it started. It was a problem at home. And I'm like, okay, I'm an engineer. Why can't I figure this out? Why can't I do things? And that's how our journey started.
okay. You were set out to solve your own problem, but once you had a product that could solve your problem, how did you offer it to others? How did you find your first customer for the software product?
You wish it is always that simple and easy. So once I found a problem to my solution, we thought there is a whole world of Airbnb host or individual owners, or VRBO owners, and we started to attend conference even without we had a product. Right, we just had an idea. We went to a conference to go talk to these people and understand would somebody be using. Just because I am using doesn't mean I represent the entire mass of people. So I wanted to validate my hypothesis. So we went to a few conferences and just talked to everybody over there saying, hey, if there was this product like this, would you use it? And it was actually a good experience where we learned that initially our focus was very B2C, where we were going after an individual owner of an Airbnb. Uh, and we realized that that may not be a good fit because a lot of people who are doing Airbnb, they're doing it as a part-time job, right? They're doing it on the side. It's not serious. So they like it, but 2 months later, they don't want to rent out an Airbnb. They want to shut down your service as well. So it was not going to be something that people, if they use it professionally, then they would use our tools professionally. So that helped us understand that we should not target them, but we should target somebody who's doing this professionally. And hence we moved our entire thing from B2C to B2B, where instead of going behind a single individual Airbnb host, we went behind property managers that manage 100 to 200 homes. And for them, scalability, managing so many properties was an issue. So before even developing the product, we went and we figured it out and we kind of moved to B2B. And once you're in B2B, you have to develop certain different types of feature sets. Then we got 2 or 3 initial beta customers and told them, hey, we will develop whatever you want us to develop for you. And they helped us kind of define our product further. And that's how we started.
Okay. Tell us about the MVP journey, or what we call as minimum viable product. How did it look like, and what was the feedback from the market?
It was interesting. So while I was doing this, I was at doing my MBA at Chicago Booth, which is a very well-renowned MBA program, and it has one of the most famous startup competition of the university. Very prestigious. When I even entered the MBA program, I was very clear that I wanted to participate and try and win that competition. So we took this concept and we pitched it into that competition, and we ended up winning. To me, that was our MVP, winning that competition. Even though we didn't have a product, we literally took a smart lock, put it on a plywood board, put a tape on it, and then just showcase that with the phone we can just open and close the door, and we can do that real time based on all the reservations and check-ins that are happening. So that was our real MVP. And then we took that and went to the customers and told them like, hey, can we just install this for free? We will buy the lock, we will do this for you and integrate. And the first 2 customers that we have, I clearly remember, they were working on a very inadequate system that they had in house. And they're like, our system is really old. I don't think you can integrate with the system and do it. And we like to take that as a challenge. And if we are able to integrate and do it, would we own your business? And they were a decent sized company. And that's how our MVP started. It was never like a product, but it was an iteration with the customer.
Okay. Once MVP was there, and you improved it, and you found a few customers. Uh, After that, the next challenge is product market fit. Can you tell us about that journey? What did you tweak in the product, or the business model, or any pivots did you do to achieve product market fit?
No, yep, definitely a great question. So initially, when we were doing this, we were still all of me, my co-founders, everybody was working with a full-time job. Nobody had quit our jobs yet. We still had some paying customers, but we were still skeptical that is this something that's going to make it big. And I think I have to give credit to my co-founder. She is an expert at sales. She went to one of the conferences, and we really were having an MVP product, and that's where her sales had comes in play. She went behind in the entire conference. She went behind the biggest customer that was there in the industry, what we call it as a whale. And I was like, we're not ready for it. We don't even have a product, right? We cannot go and pitch to the biggest company in the industry. But she did pitch it. Not only just pitch it, she won it, and she got the business. Like everybody was dying to get the business from that company, and eventually we ended up winning that contract.
mm,
And that is the time we were like, this is serious, because now this company has thousands of units that we need to get on board. That's the time we quit our jobs. We then used that because they were in all different markets in US, and that allowed us to help us scale the product, add more enterprise level features that they were requiring. And the good thing is we all were engineers, so it was very quick for us to iterate and develop the product faster than anybody else out over there. And we had a very open strategy and open mindset, which allowed us for a broader audience. And I think that was a point where we had attained product market fit, uh, where we were actually, our product was getting used in all different states across US.
okay. Uh, After the product market fit, the next challenge is growth. Tell us what sort of growth hacks, if you have ever used growth hacks, what sort of growth hacks did you adopt to uh, organically and inorganically grow your business?
I think we still haven't solved that mystery yet. We are still in that mode of understanding the growth. Um, so it is something that we're still working. Every now and then we'll do a different growth hack. One of the different ways of we did something as a growth is we don't spend too much money in marketing or sales. We've grown the organization so big without even a sales or marketing person. And I think that's just because inherently we all are engineers and we think like an engineer. um, our one unique way of doing things was, we every market in US, we try and end up a poster child. So I call this as a poster child syndrome,
Okay.
where in every market, for example in Hawaii, right, that's a market, which is the most prominent company or a resort that everybody would know about, and we go behind that person, right, with all our energies. We'll give them heavy discounts and just make sure we get that customer.
Mm,
Once we get that customer, that becomes a poster child in that market. And then we go around that market and tell everybody that, hey, that poster child, that big company in that market that you know about, that everybody looks to, is our customer. Why are you not using us? Right? And we do that in every market that way. And we ended up with 2 or 3 national players who are in every market, right? So we don't have to go behind each market. So we got an enterprise national customers that are in that market, and then we use that to portray them as a poster child and get other business around. It is a good way of, it has worked really well for us.
okay. Any pivots did you do to your business model or to the product?
I think one of the pivot was moving very quickly early on from B2C to B2B and be focused. As we more began, we realized that we kind of wanted to follow the opposite model, where we attack the enterprise or the bigger customer first. Most of the startups start with attacking the lower customer, and they build the product and they build the product. And then as a product gets more mature, they go upstream to the mid-sized customer and then to eventually the enterprise customer. We kind of did the opposite, where we attack the enterprise customer, build the product for them, and once we build it for them, now we are coming actually downstream, where we are from enterprise or bigger customer, we are coming downstream to mid-sized customer. And we're still not there yet for small size customer, but I think that was a pivot in our business model and a strategy, that build something for the bigger customer, build the reliability, build the SLAs for a bigger customer, enterprise customer. Then it'll be very easy to cater down the stream.
What is the North Star metric that you follow as a company or as a venture?
I think we do look at one thing, definitely, is number of units on our platform. That is ultimate everything. But we also keep a very close tap on churn, um, and that churn is very very minimal. We knew we built a great product. We knew we landed great customers, uh, and then later on of the part of our journey, we wanted to invest in customer success, customer support, customer service, and we did a great job. And we were very keen as founders to make sure that we never lose a customer. And even in COVID, we lost customers due to COVID, but otherwise we don't lose customers that easily. So churn was very low, but net churn eventually gets into the number of units grown, and we really don't still think about revenue, but we do look at number of units that we cater to our platform.
Okay. Uh, Now that you have come so far, what is the way forward? What is the vision you have as a company or as a product?
Uh, with COVID, it really helped that people started to believe in contactless technology. In US, at least, there is labor crisis because of COVID. That everything is opened up, but there is not enough labor. So a lot of people are investing in technology. What we want to do as a vision is we want to be that one smart tech platform for the entire hospitality industry, be it contactless check-in, be it everywhere. We have a product market fit, we have a great penetration. We just want to be that standard that people think about, that hey, for contactless check-in, this is what you should be using. We want to become that synonymous, loud, audacious goal. The market is huge and there's a lot of things and so on, but we have to have a big goal or dream, and then only we can move towards it.
Cool. Uh, Coming to the personal side of being an entrepreneur, can you tell us why you have chosen the path of entrepreneurship in spite of having a very good job and lucrative pay packages?
Yeah, I think I did not choose that path. I think my family and my grandparents should be asked that question. So I was born in Bombay, born in a typical Gujju family where everybody is an entrepreneur. Nobody knows anything apart from it. Um, I have like 40 cousins before me. We lived in a very big joint family. My dad and his brothers all had a big joint business, all kinds of business, from chemicals to electroplating to real estate. Uh, our family was into a lot of businesses. I was probably out of the 40 cousins, I was the only kid who went further into studies and did engineering. I was probably the first kid in our family to go to US for higher studies. And I distinctly remember when I, finished my master's, got my first job on, in New York City. I was really happy. I flew back to India to meet my parents and my grandparents. And my grandmom, she's like, okay, what are you doing? And she didn't understand much. She was happy that I was able to go to US and all. So I tell her what I'm doing and so on. And she's like, so in short, you're still wearing somebody else's tie, right? You're
Mm.
wearing a tie that belongs to somebody else. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, good. Let me know when you are your own boss. Um, and I think entrepreneurship was in the blood from childhood. My dad, my mom would always take us to the factories. So I was born and brought up in that environment. Um, I did work in a very good hedge fund. Working on a hedge fund was a great experience, and it was a very cushy job, very hard to leave. But I always knew that I had to do something of my own. That itch was there in the from the get go. So I was itching to do something on my own, and moment I got a chance, I jumped on it.
Okay. Now you have to tell us how is it playing out for you after leaving the job, and you have to compare the life of an entrepreneur with the life of a full-time job holder.
Oh, it's not even comparable. uh, Full time job, it's easy. Entrepreneurship is not very simple. There is a lot of stress in entrepreneurship. There is chaos, less organization. You can't say I'm 9 to 5. Um, in a full time job, there is stress. You are taking responsibility, but it's somebody else's eventual problem. You can go back, you can take time off, you can take a vacation. With entrepreneurship, you just can't. You're constantly on. It's hard to switch off. You're constantly working. You're tired, and then you realize that this is a marathon. Entrepreneurship is a marathon. It's not like a 100-meter race. It is going to take a long time. And the worst part about it is, while running a marathon, you know that, okay, I'm at mile 18 and I need to just go 5 more miles and I'll be done. In entrepreneurship, you just have no idea, right? That this is a marathon, but am I at the start of this marathon? Am I in the end of this marathon? You don't know. So you have to figure out. And in that long process, life goes through a lot of changes. Like for me, we had, 2 kids. uh, we moved from one state to the other state, so it's a long journey. While in a job, eventually it is much easier. Entrepreneurship is much difficult, but it's very satisfying, right? Where you are now responsible, you have the pressure, you have people that look up to you, and you have the pressure to provide. Like for us, during COVID, we didn't want to let go anybody because and we were in hospitality, so we were, hit really hard. But that you are providing income for so many people and their families. You're responsible for them, so it's a different kind of feeling and satisfaction. But yeah, you can't compare a full-time job to entrepreneurship. Anybody who wants to think about being their own boss and working less, entrepreneurship is not that. Eventually your income statement is your boss and your employees are your boss, and you realize that, and you work way too much in entrepreneurship than a full-time job.
Speaking of a marathon, can you tell us how do you stay energetic throughout the journey? Because it's very stressful. I understand. You also admit that you have to. You may feel tired also sometimes, but how do you stay consistent? How do you manage stressful situations where you are not able to push yourself any further?
The first step is to admit that I'm not good at it. Everybody copes up with a little difference. My co-founder, she does it very differently. She has a very easy on and off switch. When she's in an off switch, she absolutely gets detached to everything that's happening in the world of startup, and she's focused on her personal things or whatever it is. I just mentally cannot do it. And I have to understand that I just can't be on and off. I'm constantly thinking about everything. So for me, I do it a little bit differently, where I go and, do extreme sports as my went out. That, takes my mind away for a bit. And I'm very thrilled to do extreme sports. I do scuba diving, I do skiing and all of that kind of stuff. That is my way. Off lately during COVID, my way of de-stressing is playing poker. I'm intellectually very stimulated, so I always want to do something which occupies my brain. I'm not the person who, watches TV or movies and that allows you to de-stress. So I do those kind of activities to de-stress, and constantly keep telling myself that this is a long journey and we are in for the long haul. But I don't think there is a magic. Everybody has to figure out their own inner self and what works for them and not work for them.
Okay. Let's speak about the people who have uh, believed in your vision and become a part of your journey. Tell us, how did you find those people who have built your venture? Start with your
Uh,
co-founder.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, all credit goes to my co-founders. There are two co-founders, and it's interesting. And my first co-founder, we both started together, was nobody but my wife. We both were engineers. Both went to engineering college together. We were in US, and we both had this itch of starting this together. So eventually, a lot of people laugh at us, but we are that husband-wife couple who both left their cushy job, took double the risk, and jumped into it. uh, at times it's terrible to work with your spouse, I'll be very honest. uh, but if anybody, I would work with her. The trust level is just unbelievable. Where you don't have to justify with your spouse that why am I working late. I've seen a lot of people in startups where the spouse does not get why the other person is so stressful, why are they putting so long hours. Over here we know that why it is, and we don't have to explain. So that is definitely a big relief. And then to add to it, we found our co-founder in terms of our CTO, um, who is just absolutely brilliant, who came from a very great background, IIT, and then in US worked for Samsung, um, and just has a sense of ownership and belongingness. Moment we met him through a common friend. We told him that, hey, for 6-8 months, just work on the side. Don't leave your job until we are not leaving our job too. And there will be a point where we'll ask you to leave the job if things scale up. And he kind of agreed and understood that. So meeting people with the right mindset is very important. And from there on, once he became full time with us, he's just taken the ownership of entire tech, that we don't have to even look at tech. Um, so having those kind of co-founders gives you that trust and confidence, because there are dark days, there are difficult days in the journey, and at that time you look up to your co-founder that do we have each other's back to move forward. And that's what I think we found in our co-founders, that we have each other's back and trust level to move forward.
Okay. Um, Can you tell us about the different challenges that you have faced so far while building and growing this venture?
I think COVID was a big challenge off the bat. Serving in hospitality industry, 2 or 3 or 4 customers were companies that had raised $100 million. We, spent a lot of time to be in that portfolio of them, and they were growing. And then COVID hit, and we never imagined those guys would ever file for bankruptcy, but they did. Even after raising hundreds of millions of dollars, they all filed for bankruptcy, and they owed a lot of money to us. And we thought, like, okay, I mean, we'll get the money. Who thought that they will go bankrupt? But once they went bankrupt, we're still struggling to do the legal paperwork to get the money from them. So COVID was definitely challenging. Um, we didn't know what the future would entail. We had moved our company, we had bought an office, and all of a sudden everything came to a grinding halt. Our focus as founders was to not let go any of our employees, and we did our best to not, cut jobs, keep those people so things would, work out for them and us later on. But yeah, we lost almost half of our revenue in COVID. Thankfully, post COVID, we were able to, bring all of that revenue back and kind of close the year above than what we had started the year with. But to me, COVID, I'm sure, was a testing times for a lot of companies and founders, and how you reacted would make a instrumental difference.
True. Any failures you would like to talk about that was part of your journey?
Failures are a constant part. We are still failing. It's not like we've figured everything out. I think failures to me, I had other thing I've heard at YC, I think Y Combinator, which says fail fast, uh, and I kind of take that motto that we fail fast in all of the things, like in terms of product, iterate. For example, we started with Alexa project. Alexa was big, and everybody's like, "Oh, do Alexa." So we jumped into it. We spent a lot of time and money into it. Everybody's going to do it. Alexa should be part of every home. We are the smart tech providers for everything. We should put Alexa in every hotel room. But we soon realized that it wasn't something that was working. Uh, People was talking about it, but nobody wanted to do it. And then the guest had privacy issues, right? So guest was concerned about the privacy in a hotel room where Alexa is listening to you. But we had spent a lot of dollars in R&D and building that product. So we had to scrap it. We had to put it on a pause and say, we're not moving forward with this. There is not much market fit for this sub product. So those kind of failures, failures in sometimes hiring, finding the right people in as a startup, right? It's very hard to find the right people with the right mindset. A lot of people join startup for the craze that they think startup is something that will turn into Google and they'll become millionaires. And then they realize that they have to put the same work, and there is no organization, right? As a startup, there is chaos, things change. You as a company are evolving, and hence employees' role evolve. So those kind of failures, just hiring the wrong people at times, I feel, and then again fail fast, which means you have to fire those people faster, and it's actually good for them as well as for the company. You just have to do it in the right way, but it's good for both parties because they have a different set of expectation which a startup can never offer. So I would say series of failures. I don't think there is one particular failure that changed everything for us, but series of failures, learning from them and moving forward, is how I look at it.
What would you say is the meaning of entrepreneurship to you? How do you define the term entrepreneur?
I would say it's defining your own journey. Uh, to me, that is very important. One of our mentor early on said, "You can fire the customer," and I didn't understand that part. I'm like, "What do you mean by fire the customer?" It's like, you tell the customer, "I don't want your business. Take your money and go away." And I'm like, no, no, how can a startup say that? Right? I mean, we are hungry for every customer. In the initial days, every customer is like a God sent gift. How can we do that? And that mentor, I remember, he was very clear. As a startup, you have the liberty. Google cannot say no to anybody. You can say no to anybody. If that customer is not a good fit, not a good fit. Don't waste your resources behind that customer and drag the company in a different direction. Find your ideal customer profile and only take those customers. And even that, if the customer is very painful, is not, there are customers like that. You just very nicely tell them like, here is your money back. Thank you, but we're not. And to me, that is what entrepreneurship is how you define what you want to do, how you want to carve. There are external factors and variables, that pressure of growing, adding revenue, raising millions of dollars, all of that is there. But I still think that is all on you know, the show off side of the world. The true entrepreneurship is there's only one boss, which is your income statement, and there is nobody else. As much as you are true to the income statement, and you believe in that income statement, you take the right decisions, you can carve your own journey with your employees, with your customers, with the industry and product. And hopefully you are able to make an impact and change people's way of living and doing things. To me, that is what entrepreneurship is.
You'd have met multiple entrepreneurs over the years and from different parts of the world. Uh, have you observed any difference between Indian entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs from the rest of the world? If yes, can you highlight some?
It's yes, but I mean, I don't think there are people from other part of the world very different too. It's very, uh, I don't think it's the right way to generalize. In US, definitely we see a lot of Indian entrepreneurs. I think the only thing about Indian entrepreneurship that stands apart, and again, it's a self-selection, because anybody from India coming to US has passed through a certain level of hurdles, right? They have already, like, they're a good pedigree, and that's why they've ended up in US by some way. They've got some master's level education. Uh, so definitely they come with a pedigree. I think Indian entrepreneurs, a little bit difference is a lot of other entrepreneurs do for raising money and show and all of that. Indian entrepreneurs, I feel at times, and again, it's a generalization. I don't think every Indian entrepreneur is like that, but they want to do because they want to make an impact. Uh, it's not just they're chasing money, but they really want to contribute and do something meaningful. And the benefit of an Indian entrepreneur most of the time is many of them are engineers, so they can develop and they can do software very fast. And we are living in this last 10 years of golden era where software is eating the world, that everything is software. Um, and it kind of works to our advantage. I think those are the differences. But apart from that, other countries, other people in US, it's perfect where if you have the talent and the skill, you will rise, right? The industry, the startup world serves you without looking at who you are. As long as you're doing what you're doing and it's great, it will reward you. Uh, I've met founders, non-Indians, equally great and awesome at what they do. Non-technical founders who know zero things about coding or technology, but they're just amazing. They're just pure hustlers. I mean, there is no pure skill set that they have. They're just pure hustlers, where they will meet and network and talk and get the work done. And at the end, that's what matters.
My final question to you: tell us what are the different learnings, some of the key learnings that you have gathered as an entrepreneur, so that we can take away them and apply it to our ventures.
I actually, for me, it's a personally a very rewarding and learning experience. My co-founder says it very well, and I kind of believe that on a daily basis, I'm miserable. As much as I'm looking at future, like how are we going to solve this problem? How are we going to, nail this quarter? How are we going to grow this? I am always tense. I'm always miserable. It's like literally, I feel like I have a pessimist view of the future. But looking at the past, I'm very proud, right? Which means last year, if you told me this year I would, company would survive COVID and come out of COVID with flying colors, I wouldn't have believed it. But today we are, so I'm happy about it. But during the entire COVID period, I was very miserable. So I think everyday struggle is worthwhile, that you think every day is difficult and tomorrow is going to be more difficult and you get prepared for it. But then when you look in the past for 1 year what you've done, you are extremely proud of what you've achieved. So that is where I am. And I think it has, entrepreneurship has become a life lesson for me as well. It has taught me a lot of different things that was out of my comfort zone. How to be patient, how to control what you can control, and can't do things that you can't control, how to manage risk, how to make certain decisions, which there is no right decision, and yet you have to make a decision. And these are life lessons. I don't think it's just entrepreneurship lessons. And above and all, for me, it has become great. The industry that I work is in hospitality, so I get to go to very beautiful places, explore a lot of beautiful house and hotels. So that's like a side perk to me. And then I get to meet a lot of people in the industry who are so warm, so nice, so kind. Um, it's unbelievable to meet people who have no idea about technology, but they're just such a nice people to see and meet in hospitality. So to me, those are like different takeaway that I would have never got.
Thank you for joining us, Dipen. It was really wonderful speaking to you and getting different perspectives on different things. Uh, and I would say my best wishes for Lynx Automation.
No, thank you, and I hope my honesty and candidness does not shy, fellow entrepreneurs in taking the journey. Um, Nothing comes set. You have to take the plunge. That is my message to the new upcoming entrepreneurs. There is some level of madness required, and there is some hope, but you have to take a plunge, and then you have to keep learning. And I hope I did not scare anybody from entrepreneurship. It's a beautiful and rewarding journey.
Thank you, Dipen. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Priya.